So, from Rabbi Nachman, we learn about suffering that Rabbi Nachman from Breslov worthily researched, or I should say, very worthy of your research, whoever you are. At the time that the heavenly, or in other words, if you have not researched him, you should. At the time that the heavenly court dispatches suffering upon a person, they make the suffering take a note that it will not set out to afflict the person except on such and such day, and that it will not leave him except on such and such day at such and such a time through the mercy of such and such a person, or such and such a medicine by the hand of such and such a person on such and such day. This is from Avodah Zara 55a, which is the Talmud. The illnesses are trustworthy. When they're sent to punish someone, they take an oath to leave on a certain day, even if the person hasn't yet repeated the sin that causes his suffering in the first place. The punishment stays true to its oath, departing that day. However, if the sick person gives charity to a tzaddik, a holy, righteous person, before that day, he or she mitigates the decree, then any medicine he'll take will have the power to heal him. Okay, now I want to talk about our body. The gestures and expressions of other body. This is not from Rabbi Nachman, although I'm sure that if there's any wisdom here, we could say that Rabbi Nachman definitely knew it and was happy to help others by sharing it. So I might be hyperbole. I guess what I'm saying is that Rabbi Nachman certainly had body wisdom, and maybe I got this from, maybe Rabbi Nachman would love to learn this too, or maybe it's just being said in other words. I'm not sure. So the gestures and expressions of others' bodies, viewed from without, from the out, echo and resonate one's own bodily movements and gestures experienced from within. This is called associative empathy. It's an inescapable affinity affiliation. The embodied subject comes to recognize these other bodies as other centers of experience, other subjects. The ways in which the subject field of experience, subjective field that I have, I now see others' bodies. I imagine myself in each of their bodies, and we all start to mirror each other. It's mediated by the body. It opens onto other subjectivities, opens to other selves besides our own self. The field of appearances is inhabited by multiple subjectivities, a collective landscape, albeit many phenomena in the experiential field, not collective or commonly shared. The real world in which we find ourselves isn't a sheer object, not a fixed or finished datum, or datum, I don't know how to say it, from which all subjects, subjective qualities could be paired away, but rather an intertwined matrix of sensations and perceptions, a collective field of experience lived through from many different angles. The mutual inscription of others in my experience, and as I must assume of myself in their experiences, affects the interweaving of our individual phenomenal fields into a single ever-shifting fabric, a single phenomenal world or reality. Yet the phenomenal world is stable, solid. We're able to count on it. We take it for granted, much of its structure and character. It's sustained by a continual encounter with others, with embodied subjects, other centers of experience. Encountering other perceivers continually assures us that there's more to any one thing in the world than I can myself perceive any moment. Like an oak tree, a building, their facets are visible to the other perceivers I see, and sensing that it's more than what's being directly seen, since it's also what the others whom I see perceive of it. And as a perceivable presence, it already existed before I came to look at it. And it will not dissipate when I turn away, remaining an experience for others, whether it's persons or other sentient organisms, like the oak tree, the birds that nest in it, its branches, the insects moving along its bark, the sensitive cells and tissues of the oak quietly drinking sunlight through its leaves. So they make it real. I don't have to carry the full weight of the perception. By the way, did I mention that this comes from, I can't even remember the author. I forgot to write it down. His name is, or it's called Sensuality, maybe? Oh boy. Let me see if I have it nearby, just a moment. Unfortunately, I do not think I wrote it, which it truly is unfortunate, because I would love to highly recommend this book, and I'll find out later and hopefully put it in a video if I don't find it right now. Oh boy. I'm usually prepared when it comes to Some good stuff coming up, though. I will say that. Certainly good things coming up. And hopefully I'll find the, it's called, I think, Sensuality, or The Sensual, something like that. Look at a few more pages, and if I don't find it, we'll have to continue. This is worth it. If you could read the book, there's so much good stuff in there. If Hashem wants me to find it, I will. Can you believe it? I found something else we're going to learn that is going to be from him also, and yet I didn't write. Oh, come on. Okay, Google, is there a book called The Sensual?
Here's a bedtime story from Story Nori on Google Play Books.
Okay, Google.
It's called The Golden Goose.
Okay, Google, stop the story.
The Golden Goose.
Okay, Google, stop the story. Okay, Google, stop the story. I do not find it. I don't know if I did it on purpose. Okay, well, hopefully I find out what it's called. Highly recommend the book. You know, and I'll put like a marker for myself. In this one, and also in this one. I had a talk with Michael about the invisible audience, the unembodied. So they're not judging the embodied because they don't know what it's like to dance or sing. They watch without making a higher valuing of one aspect over another. The body has memory, stores as wisdom banks from personal, gifted, family, history, and experiences data that can't be accessed on the outside. It can include the trauma and difficulties and urges that no one but that embodied individual knows. So how much more so the audience members know they can't pretend to be in the observer's shoes. By the way, this is a type of healing for the inner critic from a spiritual perspective. So giving all the glory to the cause draws down glory to the effect, which contains in it the cause. So if we give our glory to God, we are a cause God is the cause of us. We're an effect of God. God wanted us to be here, or something created us, whatever it was, the cause. We get glory too. Thus, humbly remembering also all the audience parts are effects of the cause. The relationship we have with the cause directly will affect them too. They are effects of the cause. Why would God have wanted to make an audience that doesn't like the show? The inner sanctum is beyond this, unless, whatever. Well, we could talk more about that, but in short, the audience we have to trust does like the show. So the inner sanctum is beyond this world of body-mind observation. It is the being, the existing, the one, and always accessible, and defies all comparison. So we might get stuck into this or that, judging this over that, this more than that. All of that has to go. And now I want to talk about what we might call band-aiding the wound. But first, I'll say, in the groups, that studies Sheila Collin's book, she talks about, in the book Stillpoint, how our environment can be healing, which is when there's enough space to move and are we breathing or are we contorted? the power of the physical surroundings and the people, and everyone needs a corner, a niche, a place to belong, a welcoming, solid spot for life to break against it that no one can handle, a location I know that knows me, a familiar place that I don't feel stuck in, an environment with enough tolerance of my character. Finally, when we band-aid the wound, we'll end with that. So, we've heard a lot about how we shouldn't, but let's look into it a little. Like, don't just put a band-aid on it. Thinking that I'm worthless because my culture, family, community gives me a narrow woman's role. Not planting seeds, but that's putting on a band-aid, because it's saying, okay, so I'm not worth anything, rather than really looking at what really matters, my worth, and whether maybe I would have more worth if I did, follow those roles. Not planting seeds all over and everywhere, but choosing carefully. Not putting all my eggs in one basket, especially one that wants to move away and doesn't see me as a basket to put all the eggs in. And remembering callings change, even moment to moment sometimes. Like, for example, to be a wife or mother, or to be a free and solo adventurer. Originally, maybe a band-aiding the wound was like losing my virginity, taking it away from myself or someone who didn't deserve it and who I didn't want to give it to, but I used as a bartering, when it should have bonded me to someone who would take care of me for giving it, feeling like I have nothing to offer anymore. So two more. One is much easier. It is much easier to pivot while moving, thinking a body in motion. The idea that a body in motion tends to stay in motion, a body at rest tends to stay at rest. So it's much easier to pivot while you're already in motion versus this activation energy to start getting into a direction, into a flying. It lets us see the bigger picture once we're already in it. Like flapping your wings till you're actually flying versus soaring through the air. And finally, the many parts of me I nurture that don't have room to grow and develop are use it or lose it at a certain point, and that we aren't having the nurture. And these parts, which we are not nurturing to be sustained, might feel like a waste, or even like, for example, when we love someone, when it might not last, it could feel like it could be a grief, like, why should I get attached, or why should I become comfortable? So all of these are basically attachment wounds where we're not really going all in. So obviously sometimes, we're abandoning it, we're like trying to play safe and be calculated, whatever, but we're not fully trusting, we're not having the courage. So actually we could still heal from and some of these are exactly what we need. Sometimes we need a band-aid. That's perfectly fine. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.